Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for UFC 327 coming up this Saturday, April 11th in Miami, Florida. I'm super excited for this fight card, especially looking back at what we got served with the last pay-per-view event. My God, was that a horrible card. One of the most boring fight cards I've ever sat down to watch in my life. I hope we never see something like that again. 25 minutes of hugging in the main event for the baddest mother effer title. Stupid stuff. If anything, the BMF title should be on the line for this fight, for this main event, but we got another belt on the line. The light heavyweight title's on the line. Alex Pereira obviously stepped down and relinquished the belt to go up and challenge for the heavyweight title against Cyril Gane. That'll be on the White House card, Freedom 250 UFC. But today we have a lot of fights to break down. I'm going to go through absolutely everything, as always. So if you guys want to skip around, there will be timestamps down below in the description. But I'll start with the early prelims, work through the regular prelims, and then move on to, of course, that juicy main card. This fight card on paper is much better than the last one, I gotta say. So hopefully it doesn't let us down. Hopefully I don't jinx it here and we get two horrible fight cards in a row. I don't think that that's even possible. This is going to be an amazing event. I'm super excited for it. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your friends to help boost this channel in the algorithm. And with that all out of the way, let's get into the predictions. Kicking us off in the welterweight division, we have a bout between Charles Radtke and Francisco Prado. Radtke has a record of 11-5 with 5 wins by knockout, 4 by submission, and 3 coming in the first round, whereas Prado has a record of 12-4, 6 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, and 9 coming in the first round. This guy is a finisher. He's incredibly exciting. He's only 23 years old, so he's a nice up-and-coming prospect that you can get excited about. I like him a lot. I don't know where his ceiling is. Is this guy going to be a champion, a dominant champion? I don't know. We'll have to see how his career plays out, but I think his basement is going to be at least something like a Drew Dober type fighter. I see this guy the next 10, 15 years just staying at least in the top 15, if not on the outskirts of it. He's got a lot of attributes similar to Dober, kind of that chiseled jaw, nice strong chin, and lots of power in his hands. So this kid's incredibly fun to watch. Like I said, he's very young, so you can get excited about his career. Charles Radtke, on the other hand, 35 years old, kind of nearing the end of it. He took this fight on short notice, so I'm expecting him to have a tough night out in this first bout of the night. I think Prado's going to get this done, and I have him getting it done by first round KO. So we're going first round KO with Prado in the welterweight bout to kick off the night. Moving on from that, we have a middleweight bout. This one between Kelvin Gastelum and Vicente Luque. Gastelum has a record of 21-10, 6 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, and 7 coming in the first round, whereas Vicente Luque has a record of 23-12-1, 11 wins by knockout, 9 submissions, and 14 coming in the first round. So as you can see there, Vicente Luque a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more of a prolific finisher. I think this fight is absolutely fantastic. If this fight was made like 5 years ago, it would be like a title fight contender eliminator type fight. But now these guys are a little bit older in their career. They're kind of past their prime. It's still a good fight for both of them. I think if either one of them wins this, it could propel them back into the top 15. We will see. But both of these guys have very similar skill sets. Both of them have a lot of power in their hands. Both of them can get this done with one big shot. Both of them can submit you, although I would, if this goes to the ground, I would obviously side with Luque. I think his jiu-jitsu is a little bit better, although you can't underrate Kelvin Gastelum's wrestling. He's shown in the past that he's been able to keep some pretty good grapplers off of him. So, but the thing that pushes me over the edge in this one is the primes from both of these guys. Both of these guys were kind of in the top 5, title contention. Maybe they're going to win a belt one day. Maybe they'll be a future champion. Didn't work out for either one of them just yet. I don't want to write their careers off already, but I think if you had to look at both of their primes, you look at Vicente Luque from like 2021, 2022, and he was just a world beater. He looked like the best fighter on the planet in the welterweight division, and he was beating a lot of top guys and in devastating fashion. So he had quite a streak there, whereas Kelvin Gastelum, when you look throughout his career, never really had the same kind of prime, the same kind of heights that he hit. He didn't have a streak where he was just finishing top-level guys after top-level guys. He's kind of more of an up-and-down fighter throughout his career. So with that being said, I think Luque has more ways to win this fight. I think he's a little bit more devastating, a little bit more violent when he gets in there. So I'm going to take him to win this one, but because both guys are kind of past their prime, I'm not going to say they're out of shape or anything like that. They're still in their mid-30s, but I think this one's going to go the distance. And I think Vicente Luque is going to get it done by decision. So that's what I'm calling for this one at middleweight. Moving on, we have our early prelims headliner. This one at lightweight between Chris Padilla and Markel Medeiros. Padilla has a record of 17-6 with 9 wins coming by knockout, 5 by submission, and 10 of those coming in the first round. They call him Taco. Markel Medeiros, on the other hand, has a record of 11-1. He's on a 9-fight winning streak with 6 wins by knockout and 3 coming in the first round. Both of these guys are kind of in the prime of their career, 30 and 29 respectively, and both guys haven't lost in the UFC just yet. Both of them are obviously capable finishers, and I think this is going to be a very, very fun fight on the early prelims. I think a lot of people are going to skip over this one because the name value just isn't quite there. Maybe if you're a fan from South America, you know these guys, but I feel like a lot of UFC fans aren't the most familiar with either one of these, but please circle this fight, sit down and watch it. I have a weird feeling that this is going to be a really fun fight. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that, but I'm going to go with Medeiros in this one. I'm going to take him by decision. I know it's boring, but I think these two fighters are very well matched, and I think it could be an absolute brawl. So hopefully I'm right in that, but that concludes the early prelims. Let's move on now to the regular prelims. Kicking off the regular prelims, we have a women's strawweight bout. This one between the number 2nd ranked Tatiana Suarez and the number 6th ranked Lupi Godinez. Tatiana Suarez has a record of 12-1, 2 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, and 2 coming in the first round, whereas Lupi Godinez has a record of 14-5 with 1 win by knockout, 2 by submission, and 2 coming in the first round. This is the only women's fight on the card, but I am really excited for this one because it does do a lot for the division, and both fighters are quite entertaining. I would say that Tatiana Suarez is probably in my top 5 favorite female fighters on the planet, at least active right now, and Lupi Godinez also is a ferocious fighter in her own right, and whoever wins this bout is probably next in line for the title. I'm not going to say that they're going to get it right next, but probably later this year, they're probably going to challenge for that strawweight belt again. I hope Tatiana Suarez gets another shot at it because that fight with Weili Zhang was awesome. Not quite the fight I wanted from her, but she has been set back so much throughout her career. It's really been a heartbreaking tale because I remember 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, Tatiana Suarez was looking like a girl that was going to come in, demolish everyone, and maybe hold multiple belts. She looked so promising. She has so much talent, like such a high potential there, and I hope she taps into it in this fight, shows us a spectacular performance, and then goes out there later this year and wins the belt. This is a fighter that I've been rooting for many, many years now. Unfortunately, a lot of health problems have set her back, but if she taps into her potential, she's one of the most entertaining and dominant fighters in the entire UFC when it comes to the women. So very excited for this fight. Hopefully she gets it done. I think I'm going to take Tatiana Suarez by decision in this one. You can see there by their records, they're not the most prolific finisher, so I'm going to go with a decision win for this one for Suarez. Moving on, we have a lightweight bout. This one between the number 8th ranked Mateus Gamrot and Esteban Rabokvics. Mateus Gamrot has a record of 25-4 with 8 wins by knockout, 5 by submission, and 3 coming in the first round, whereas Rabokvics has a record of 15-2, 7 wins by knockout, 5 by submission, and 7 coming in the first round. I am really excited about this fight. I think it's a perfect matchup. I think the matchmakers did a tremendous job with this one. You have 2 guys who have both been in multiple fight of the nights. Both guys love to get in wars, and both guys are looking to move up in the division, especially Gamrot coming off a loss there to Charles Oliveira, first time he's ever been stopped. His previous 3 losses before that to Dariush, Hooker, and I believe it was Kutaladze or something like that. They were all very, very close fights that you could have argued he won. Now, he's also been in fights like the one against Arman Tsarukyan, where I thought Arman Tsarukyan won that fight, but everybody debates that fight. That's like a true 50-50 fight. It should have been called a draw, but Gamrot's one of those guys, man, where I'm like, this guy has all the skills to be a champion and a dominant champion. This guy is so talented. His wrestling is like S tier. He's one of the best wrestlers in the entire sport, let alone the division. He's got great hands, fantastic just ability to move forward and take punches and bite down on the mouthpiece. He's so damn tough. And I really want this guy to do big things in this division, but every time he gets a big fight, he seems to get set back a little bit, and it really sucks being a fan of him. Whereas Rabokvics, on the other hand, is just a guy that I love to watch fight. I'm not like rooting for this guy to become a dominant champion or anything like that. Maybe he'll mature into that one day, but this guy, every time he's on a fight card, I always circle that fight and go, need to watch that, because he is an absolute brawler. He loves to put his chin on the line, get into a war, get into a firefight, and just feel the fists fly. And I love fighters like that. He has the true fighting spirit in him, and I think this is going to be a potential fight of the night fight. So really keep an eye on this one. I think it's going to be a banger, and I'm going to take Gamrot in this one just because he usually bounces back after his losses, and he's only lost to super high level guys. Maybe his first loss was not the greatest, but it was still a very close fight. But he's only lost to guys like Dariush, Oliveira, Hooker, right? The top level guys in the division. So I feel like Gamrot's going to go out there and get this done. I'm not going to be boring and take this by decision, even though that's what my brain tells me, but my heart tells me something in this fight's going to get exciting and there's going to be a knockout. I'm going to take Gamrot by second round KO in this one, and I hope it's a banger up until that point. But this could easily go all 3 rounds and be an absolute barn burner, so please circle this fight. I think the matchmakers did a great job with this one. Next up, we have a welterweight bout, this one between Kevin Holland and Rude Boy Randy Brown. Kevin Holland has a record of 28-15 with 14 wins coming by knockout, 9 by submission, and 13 coming in the first round. Rude Boy Randy Brown has a record of 20-7 with 8 wins by knockout, 5 by submission, and 4 coming in the first round. This is another fight that I can point to and say, hey, the matchmakers did a fantastic job with this one as well. You got 2 lanky, long, crafty strikers. Both guys have knockout power. Both guys just love to put their style and their creativity on display and piece together beautiful combinations. This one, I really don't know which way it's going to go. You can flip a coin for this one for me. I don't know what the odds are for this fight, but I assume they're going to close in pretty even. I think I'm going to lean towards Randy Brown in this one just because he tends to lose fights less. Like when you watch Kevin Holland, man, this guy could easily have a much better record. He easily could be like 35-5 or something like that, but he just finds ways to lose fights sometimes. Sometimes he's not concentrated or not motivated, or he's switching between weight classes too much and he doesn't know where he wants to be. He seems to be pretty settled down in welterweight now. Seems like the middleweight guys are just too big for him, especially guys like Chimaev. My God, was that a quick fight? But I feel like he's settling down a little bit more, maybe getting his mentality right and focusing, but I still can't trust him. This guy finds ways to lose fights, and against a guy like Randy Brown, a guy who can match him with the creative striking and the combinations and the power in the hands, I think Randy Brown might get this one done. So I'm going to take him by, let's go third round KO. I feel like it might be second, but I'm going to go third round KO in this one. I hope it's a great fight because both of these guys, like I said, they kind of have exact same styles and they have the exact same skill sets. So I hope that makes for a great fight. Sometimes that makes for a boring fight, but I think in this case it's going to make for a fun one. So I'm going to take Rude Boy Randy Brown to win this one by third round KO or TKO. And finally, we move on to our prelims headliner. This fight is fantastic as well. This is the fight that should have been made like a year or two ago when these guys originally came into the UFC. You got 2 guys here that are from Bellator, 2 of their top fighters ever in Bellator, and you have the 13th ranked Patricio Pitbull taking on Aaron Pico. Pitbull has a record of 37-8 with 12 wins by knockout, 12 wins by submission, and 12 first-round finishes. Kind of a perfect record there. He should almost retire if he gets one more win, so he's 38-8, and then those perfect 12 in the first round, and 12 submissions and 12 KOs. That could kind of be a perfect record to retire on, but I know he's not happy with that. This guy wants to win a belt, obviously. Aaron Pico, on the other hand, has a record of 13-5 with 9 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, and 7 of those coming in the first round. Now, this fight is essentially going to be youth versus experience. I know that might be overly reductionistic, but that's how I feel with this fight. You got Aaron Pico on one hand, who's a hot prospect, this tremendous wrestler who came into Bellator at a very young age, winning fights fast, and looked like he was going to be a dominant champion for many years in Bellator before, obviously, Bellator fell apart, and he came over to the UFC, and I still think he has that potential in the UFC. He has the attributes to do it. This guy could be a dominant champion at this weight class, whereas Pitbull, on the other hand, he's kind of looking to come over and have like his last swan song and and win that UFC gold to put on his mantle. I don't think he's going to really defend a lot. I don't think this is going to be a dominant champion. He's kind of towards the end of his career. He's already had a fantastic career in Bellator. I think he might be the greatest fighter in Bellator history, which some people might not care about Bellator at all, but I think that still says a lot about his career. I remember for like over a decade wanting Pitbull, both of them, both Pitbulls, him and his brother. I wanted both of them to come over to the UFC so badly because for years I thought, yeah, Max Holloway, yeah, Volkanovski, yeah, Jose Aldo. I don't know. I think maybe the Pitbull he might be better. Like this might be the best 145er on the planet. So now we get a chance to see if that's true. But like I said, he is towards the end of his career. So he needs to win this fight. He needs a big win here. And then he probably needs one, possibly two more wins within this year to challenge probably next year for the belt. And that's going to be kind of his last chance to do it. So it starts here. He needs to get through Pico and he needs this win. I think he can do it. He's got the wrestling. He's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to match the grappling of Pico. I know Pico is so highly touted and people are very high on this guy's grappling, but if you look at Pitbull and you look at his career, this guy can handle himself with very high level grapplers. So I think he's got enough to kind of keep Pico off of his legs and keep him from taking him down and smashing him. And on the feet, sure, Pico might be a little bit quicker. He may even have a little bit more power, but that Pitbull power has gone nowhere. Pitbull still has a lot of power, and he can knock out anybody in this division, and he's very crafty. He's got so much experience now. He's a true veteran of the game, and I feel like if he just uses that experience, uses his superior fight IQ, he can pull this one out and maybe get a decision victory. But on the other hand, Pico can go out there and he could smash this guy. He can get a knockout. He can take him down and submit him. Pico's got so many different ways he can end this fight. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it against a guy as high level as Patricio Pitbull. But we're going to see. We're going to see. This is going to be a very fun fight. This is like kind of two of the top 5 fighters, I think, in Bellator history. It's hard to say, but I think they're up there, at least in the top 10. These are two of the top 10 Bellator fighters ever, and they're facing off right now in the featherweight division Saturday night on the prelim headliner to see which one of these two is going to go further in the featherweight division and which one is maybe an overhyped prospect. Or maybe they put on a war and show that they're both meant to be here in the UFC. Honestly, I hope the latter happens, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm rooting for Pitbull in this fight. I've been a fan of him for so many years, so maybe my bias bleeds through here a little bit, but I'm going to pick him to win this fight by decision. So that concludes our regular prelims. Let's move on now to the main card. Kicking off the main card, we have a featherweight bout, this one between Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr. Cub Swanson has a record of 30-14 with 14 wins by knockout and 4 by submission, whereas Nate Landwehr has a record of 18-7 with 9 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 3 coming in the first round. And man, somebody's got to give the matchmakers a raise because they did a phenomenal job on this card. I think just about every single fight, maybe besides the first fight of the night, is like perfectly matched. And that first fight of the night was put together last minute, so you can't really blame the matchmakers for that. This is another perfect example of it, though. Some people might say, why is this fight on the main card? Shouldn't it be maybe the Kevin Holland fight, maybe the Pitbull fight? Those are pretty big names, especially if you watched Bellator for many years. Maybe it should be the Gamrot fight. You know, Gamrot has a lot of fans. There's a lot of people that like that guy, but Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr have been in the UFC for a long time. These are veterans, and you might not remember their names as much because they're usually fighting on fight nights or on prelim cards, stuff like that, but both of them are absolute warriors. Both of these guys go forward, they bite on their mouthpiece, and they just sling leather trying to look for the knockout. Both of these guys have been in so many wars in their career, and I just hope to God they go out there and put on a war for us on Saturday night. I think that's the vibe I'm getting from both of them leading up to this, so I hope this is just a banger fight and just a fun fight. This really does nothing for the division. Neither one of these guys is going to challenge for the belt anytime soon. I don't see either one of them ever becoming a champion, really. This is really just a fight to put on the main card to hopefully give these guys one last great fight for the memory of the fans. And I hope it plays out that way. I'm going to take Cub Swanson in this one just because I'm a bigger fan of him. I really like that guy when he's talking in interviews and stuff like that. Like everything I see from him outside of the cage, he carries himself very well. He's one of my favorite fighters for that reason, not for what he does in the cage, but for how he carries himself outside. And I really want him to win this fight. So I'm going to take him to win this one by third round KO. I hope it comes late because I hope this is just an absolute war for 2.5 rounds, but I'm going to take Cub Swanson. Third round KO in this one. Moving on, we have a light heavyweight bout. This one between the number 10 ranked Dominic Reyes and the number 12th ranked Johnny Walker. Dominic Reyes has a record of 15-5 with 10 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 11 coming in the first round. And Johnny Walker has a record of 22-9, 17 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 17 first round finishes. This is another one that I can point to and say, boy, the matchmakers did a good job with this one. This fight really excites me because you have two guys that have crazy power in their hands. They're both very long. Both of them don't have the greatest chins, so both of these guys can be knocked out like rather easily. So I'm almost absolutely certain this is going to be a first round KO. Obviously, you never know before the thing happens, but I think if there's a fight that I can point at and go, this is probably going to be a first round KO, it's this one. And both of them are very, very awkward. Maybe Dominic Reyes a little bit less so than Johnny Walker, who does like backflips and stuff like that. But both guys are very awkward, very creative, very lanky and weird and hit you from weird angles. So I'm assuming somebody's going to go out in this one. I think Dominic Reyes has a little bit more power. I think he's a little bit more precise and technical in his striking. And obviously, he's an athlete. So, he's got that athletic ability. He's going to be able to out-athlete Johnny Walker. But I do think that Dominic Reyes is going to go out there and get this done and knock Johnny Walker out. Hopefully, it's a hilarious knockout. Johnny Walker, every time he gets knocked out, he just like falls in some sort of weird way. It's so funny to watch him get knocked out. But if he knocks out Dominic Reyes and pushes his hairline back another inch, that would be funny too. So I just hope one of these guys gets knocked out in the first round. I'm not the biggest fan of either of them, but they're both very, very entertaining. So let's hope for a first round KO. I'm going to take it for Dominic Reyes, but honestly, this fight could go either way. So moving on from that, we have a heavyweight bout. This one between the number 5th ranked Curtis Blaydes and taking on the unranked Josh Hotik. Curtis Blaydes has a record of 19-5 with 13 wins by knockout and 3 coming in the first round, whereas Josh Hotik has a record of 8-0. He has 5 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 6 coming in the first round. Now, some of you may be thinking, why is this Josh guy taking on Curtis Blaydes, who's ranked number 5? Why is he taking on an unranked guy who only has 8 fights and has barely fought in the UFC? Curtis Blaydes has been here for years and years and years. He's fought top competition, beaten away top prospects. He's fought for the championship or fought against the champion quite a few times. You might be wondering, why is this Josh Hotik guy in here? But go watch his last fight, and then don't turn it off after he finishes the guy. Watch his post-fight interview. This guy's got a lot of personality. He's a lot of fun. He can cut a good promo, and I think the UFC wants to push this guy because the heavyweight division, especially for the last 10, maybe even 15 years, has been rather stale. It's not been a fun division to watch. The fights have been kind of lackluster. The champions have been I love Stipe. He was kind of the best one in the last 10, 15 years, but besides him in the Cormier fights, I can't remember anything really that happened in the heavyweight division in the last 5 or 10 years that was really memorable. So the UFC probably wants to push a guy like this, a guy who can finish people, right? He's finished every single one of his fights. He can finish you by knocking you out. He can finish you by taking you down. Is he going to be able to take down Curtis Blaydes? Probably not. Curtis Blaydes is the best wrestler we've ever seen in the heavyweight division, so I don't see that happening. But if this stays on the feet, I could see Josh getting the knockout here. Curtis Blaydes, it's not even so much that he leaves his chin on the line or that he has a bad chin, because he's fighting guys like Francis Ngannou. If Francis Ngannou knocks you out, you can't just say that guy has a bad chin. He got knocked out by the heaviest puncher in human history, right? So I don't think Curtis Blaydes has a bad chin or he leaves his chin on the line or he fights badly, but he doesn't protect himself maybe as well as he should against top-level heavyweights, and he almost fights like he's a welterweight. Now, he has the skills of a welterweight, and that's probably why. It's probably frustrating to be as big as Curtis Blaydes is with the skills of a welterweight, and you can't fight like a welterweight. You got to fight like a heavyweight sometimes, right? So I feel like that's what gets in Curtis Blaydes' way a lot. I feel like that's why he's never going to win the belt or be a champion, or he definitely won't be a long-term champion, because just the way he fights, the skill set that he has is not suited for this division. It's very impressive. Don't get me wrong. Having a freestyle wrestler who can go in there at heavyweight, shoot double legs and take people down, not high crotches like Daniel Cormier. I'm talking actual double legs. It's a very impressive thing, but I don't think it actually works well for UFC heavyweight. So we're going to see on Saturday night if I'm right about this, and if Josh Kotick can go out there and knock out Curtis Blaydes in round 1, which is my official prediction, by the way. But it's just hard to go against Curtis Blaydes, especially against a guy who's barely fought in the UFC, right? Curtis Blaydes has so many fights in the UFC, more fights in the UFC than Josh has professional fights, and Josh really hasn't done too much in the UFC so far. He hasn't really done too much in his career so far. He's still very, very young, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be looking at this one going, well, it's an easy pick to take Curtis Blaydes here. He's the veteran. He's been here longer. Like, he should get this done, but I promise you, like, if you look at Josh Kotick's fights in the UFC so far, there's something special about this guy. It's not just how he gets on the mic and cuts a promo, and he's got a very boisterous personality, but he also has a lot of skill in there. He's crafty, he's quick, he's always putting together combinations and overwhelming people. He's got a lot of volume for heavyweight too. So there's a lot of things that stand out about him that I see him being a legitimate prospect for this division. And if he gets this win, I don't know if it's going to put him at number 5 in the division. Usually that's what happens. You take the rank of the guy who you beat, but he's probably going to be put in the top 10, and then he's only like a fight or two away from the belt. So this guy could be challenging for the belt this time next year, possibly, if he can get it done on Saturday night. So I'm taking Josh by first round KO. I hope it happens. It's better for the division. But next up, we have our co-main event. Now, this is not Joshua Van versus Tetsuro Taira. I was very, very excited for that fight. That's one of the fights that I get like super, super excited for, because, man, Joshua Van is younger than me. This is the first champion ever in UFC history that's been younger than me. So that's a unique experience. And then he's taking on Tetsuro Taira, who's my favorite, at least my favorite flyweight prospect. He might be my favorite prospect in the entire sport. I'm very, very high on that guy. So I was very excited for that fight, but there were some issues with it. It's got moved one pay-per-view ahead. It'll be on UFC 328. I'll break that down in my next prediction video, but we still have a pretty good co-main event in this one. This is probably going to be I don't know. I can't say this for certain, because the Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker fight also could be a title eliminator, but I feel like this should be the title eliminator, this fight here in the co-main event between Azamat Murzakanov and Paulo Costa. Azamat has a record of 16-0. He has never lost before. He has 12 wins by knockout, one win by submission, and 10 coming in the first round. And Paulo Costa, who used to fight at middleweight somehow, has a record of 15-4, 11 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, and 9 wins coming in the first round. Paulo Costa is a guy who I've been a fan of ever since he beat Johnny Hendricks. That was one of the most hilarious fights I ever saw in my life. Those dudes had no position being in the same cage as one another. Johnny Hendricks was way past his prime and looked like a retired truck driver, compared to Paulo Costa, who looked like a Greek god and went in there as the eraser with I think an 11-0 record at that time, and just blew him away. And I've been a big fan of him ever since, because he's hilarious. You watch him on Twitter or X now, and the guy's got so much personality. He obviously can fight. He's got great power in his hands. He gets into wars often. He's a fan favorite for a reason. Like, this guy, he bangs. He likes to go out there and get into wars, but I think he's going to have trouble against Azamat. Azamat's a guy who, I know Pereira just went up to heavyweight, so this fight's probably never going to happen now, but this was a guy that I was looking at over the last year or two, and maybe this guy could beat Pereira. I know I said that about Ankalaev, and Ankalaev did beat him once, but in that rematch, Pereira just erased Ankalaev, and that kind of sucked. That hurt me as a big fan of Ankalaev. But I looked at Mirzakhanov as like the next guy. This is the new undefeated Russian that's going to come in and beat Pereira finally. And unfortunately, Pereira ran away. No, he didn't run away, of course. He's going to chase a bigger belt and a bigger competition, really, in Ciryl Gane. That's a very, very tough fight. I'm excited to break that one down because I honestly don't know if Pereira can take out Ciryl Gane. Gane is a very, very crafty striker. Very fast, very quick, lots of power. We'll see, but I got to break that down in the UFC Freedom 250 video, not in this video. Here we're talking about Azmat, and like I said, I think Azmat's got all the abilities to win the belt in this division. He's got tremendous power in his hands, and it's not just that he has power in his hands like Pereira. He's also a very, very, very high-level kickboxer, like incredibly crafty, so good with his hands. He can knock you out with a jab. He's knocked people out with a jab in this division before. He's got so much power in both of his hands. He puts combinations together better than anybody in this division, and his fluidity is something to watch on Saturday night. I think it's going to show Paulo Costa. It's going to give him some troubles, and I think it's going to show him that there are levels to this division. I think he's going to go out there and erase the eraser and take out Paulo Costa in the first round. I see this as an easy first-round KO for him. If I'm wrong about this, I'm going to be incredibly sad because you guys know me. I get excited about the undefeated Russians. I know some people hate them. They hate all these Azagov, Banakov, Babadov, whatever from Dagestan who comes in with an undefeated record and then just beats all of your favorite fighters, but that's partially why I like them. I love the Dagestani fighters. I love the Russian fighters, and Azmat is no exception. I'm a big fan of this guy. I hope he gets the win here, and I hope we see him fight for the title sometime this year. So Azmat Mirzakhanov, first round KO. That's what I'm going with. Let's move on now to the main event, which is our light heavyweight title bout. Obviously, Pereira vacated to go up and challenge for the heavyweight title against Ciryl Gane. So the vacated title is on the line between the second-ranked Jiří Procházka and the third-ranked Carlos Ulberg. Jiří Procházka has a record of 32-5-1 with 28 wins coming by knockout, 3 by submission, and 23 wins in the first round. I think we sometimes forget just how devastating Jiří is. This guy is a world beater. He's like the prospect of all prospects. He just hasn't gotten that belt yet because there's been guys in his way like Pereira. Just every time he runs into a guy like that, gets set back a little bit, unfortunately. But no more Pereira. The boogeyman's out of the division, so it's wide open for Jiří to take it, and I kind of hope he does in some ways. But Carlos Ulberg, on the other hand, is no slouch. He's got a record of 14-1, 9 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 7 coming in the first round, and Ulberg is a true competitor in this fight. This fight is very, very close. I know some people are looking at it like, finally, this is Jiří's chance to win. Pereira's gone. This is going to be an easy fight for him. He's going to knock out Ulberg, take the belt, and hopefully defend it for a while. I love Jiří too. He's a fan favorite for a reason. He's got a tremendous personality. He's a really fun, upbeat guy, and I would love to spend some time with him. He just seems like such a fun fella. So I get why everybody's so big on Jiří Procházka. I get it. And it's because of how he fights in the cage too. I mean, I just said it with how many freaking knockouts this guy has, and 23 coming in the first round is insane. This guy is a fun fighter. Like, everybody loves watching this guy fight. He's chaotic. He loves getting into wars. He'll lose the fight for the first round or two, and then in the third round come back and knock you out. He's just so fun to watch, and I get the hype behind him, but we have to give respect to the Black Jag. He's gotten here for a reason. He's in this fight for a reason. He's 14-1 for a reason. He's got 9 knockouts for a reason. He's a city kickboxer fighter with tremendous hands. I think he probably has better boxing than Jiří, so be on the lookout for that. He's probably going to close the distance, land some things on him, and he could knock out absolutely anybody in this division. He's a little bit more precise, probably a lot more technical if you're going traditionally a lot more technical than Jiří, and I think that's going to lend credence to him in this fight. He's got so much speed and so much power that if he can keep his gas tank throughout the entire fight, he's going to put a beating on Jiří throughout this fight. And Jiří, he needs to pull this into a firefight. He needs to make Carlos kind of get off of his game, make him uncomfortable, push him up against the cage, put him in areas that he's not used to. He needs to make this guy feel uncomfortable, because the longer the fight goes and the more comfortable Carlos Ulberg gets, he's like an Israel Adesanya with power. Maybe he's not as creative or as flashy as Izzy, but he's as technically strong. Like, he's so sound in there. You watch every single fight that he's been in, he's made very, very few mistakes. And if you're not making many mistakes and you're fighting a guy like Jiří kind of relies on you making mistakes. So Jiří's really got to find a way to pull this guy into the fire, to break his strategy, to break the momentum, and to make him uneasy and uncomfortable in there. And if he can do that, he can finally capture that UFC gold and hold that belt above his head like he's been wanting to do for so long now. And I hope he gets it. Jiří Procházka, I've been a fan of him for a long time, and I that's one guy that I really want to see hold the belt. I remember for years wanting Michael Bisping to hold the belt, going, man, I love this guy. I love the way he fights. I love his attitude. I love the way he trash talks. I love so many things about Michael Bisping, but he just seems to keep losing to all the top guys, and it's so frustrating. And then finally, he beats Luke Rockhold and gets the belt, and you're just like, yeah, finally he has it. And it's kind of the same thing here with Jiří. I feel the same way about him. I really want him to hold that belt up high, but there's something in my mind that's telling me, like, Ulberg's the better striker. If this stays on the feet, it's probably going to go his way. As long as he doesn't get dragged into the fire and pulled into a firefight, he should win this fight. And then on the other hand, you also have Jiří, who is literally the most unpredictable fighter we have ever seen in the UFC. I don't know if we've ever seen anybody quite like him. Maybe you could say like Johnny Walker or something like that, but Johnny Walker hasn't been as effective as Jiří. Jiří is super, super unpredictable, unorthodox, creative, and somehow he's still very, very effective. He wins most of his fights, and he wins most of them by devastating fashion, and he's won most of them in the first round, which is crazy. So it's hard to bet against Jiří. It's hard, especially with the way he's come back in fights, the way that he's beaten guys who have been more technical than him and who have worn him down throughout fights and have shown they're more, sound strikers. And somehow Jiří finds a way to win. So it's very, very hard for me to bet on this fight, to pick a winner. I would say in my heart, I'm cheering for Jiří all the way. This is my guy. I've been a fan of him for a long time. I'm cheering for him all the way. But my brain still tells me that Carlos Ulberg is going to get this done, just because you watch them both fight and your brain has to tell you that. Like, I don't know if any of you guys are strikers, you guys practice Muay Thai or anything like that, but your coach would never tell you to strike like Jiří. He would use Carlos Ulberg as literally the textbook definition of how to strike, how to kickbox, and he would say never strike like Jiří. So with that in your head, it's just hard to bet for Jiří. But I'm going to go with my official prediction. Oh my God, I'm going to be flipping back and forth until the fight actually happens. So this is a very loose prediction, but man, there's something about me that wants to take Jiří 5th round KO. I want to do that so badly, but I feel like Carlos Ulberg by decision is what's going to happen. If I was going to place my money, if I was going to bet on this fight using my brain, that's what I would have to do. So I know that might upset some people, especially the Jiří fans. There's a lot of them out there, but I feel like we got to go with Carlos Ulberg as the official prediction for this fight, taking it by decision. But man, I hope it plays out some sort of other way. I really hope this fight is chaotic and somebody gets knocked out or submitted or something crazy happens in it. As long as there's no eye pokes or cup shots or something that ends the fight in some stupid way, or some horrible injury, that would suck too. Thinking back to that Joshua Van Pantoja fight, never want to see something like that happen again. That was horrible. And definitely don't want to see a Max Holloway Charles Oliveira fight again. We're definitely not going to see that in this main event. There's no way Carlos Ulberg and Jiří just hug for 25 minutes. There's no way that happens. So this should be a very, very fun fight card. I'm expecting big things from it. It could be one of the top fight cards of the year. I think the matchmakers did an incredible job with it from top to bottom. I know some fights fell out, but even then with the last minute replacements, I still think that this fight card is very, very strong on paper. But like I always said, you can't judge a card until it actually happens. So let's see what happens on Saturday night. I'm very excited about this one. I hope you guys are too. So enjoy the fights this Saturday. Let me know your guys' predictions down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all of your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Like I said, enjoy the fights. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.